Today is the first day of our Arts Council funded ModCaf project test chamber. We have invited 23 of our modular cafe Aldershot artists to come and explore this space sonically. So to explore its character, its acoustics, its history, with electronic and experimental music. We also wanted to have a guest artist. So we approached Adrian Utley, who has agreed to be a part of the project for us, which is a real exciting thing for us as a community.
Ian, Ben Francis and I started the Modular Cafe in Aldershot in August 2018, and we really just wanted to share our passion for electronic music hardware, experimental stuff, and people just kept appearing. Our mission is to provide and develop an inclusive community of enthusiasts in the electronic and experimental music world. We want to provide a platform for people to share their knowledge, share their experience, and let people try performing music using technology for the first time. ModCaf is a not-for-profit community interest company that sprung up around the Modular Cafe to help facilitate mad projects like this one. ModCaf, the test chamber project at Q121 in Farnborough.
The space we're in is building Q121, which is the 24-foot wind tunnel. It was commissioned in 1931, opened by Lord Salisbury in 1935, and was used as a wind tunnel to test all sorts of different things until about 1998 when it was closed. It's a Grade 1 listed building, so the building itself and its contents are protected, but it hasn't really been used since the day it was shut down other than for the occasional movie and television shoot and the tours now that we run from the Fast Association. The way a wind tunnel is constructed with the return circuit gives you this marvellous ambient and echoing sound. We've had choirs, cellists, small orchestras, all sorts of musicians. It is a beautiful place to record sound.
So here's the plan. If you're one of our featured artists, then there's going to be a lot of information in this video about the next stages and what we're going to want from you and expect from you as the project goes forward. If you're not one of our featured artists, then that's still cool because there's lots of ways that you can engage with this project, and there'll be more about this a little bit later in the video. So for our featured artists, we would like you to create one single piece that is of no more than 8 minutes in duration. We will have various outputs for that, but we're looking at vinyl release and digital release and then release through a film as well. If you use any samples in your piece, we will want to make sure that you've got absolute clearance and permission to use them. And the basic premise is that we'll have a PA that you can plug into. You choose where you want the speakers to go. You choose where you want the microphone to go. And then in stage 2, you'll be able to come in and actually explore the space. You'll have an hour to try out your ideas. And then stage 3 will be the final stage when you actually make the recording. We'll set up dates for that for the future and let you know what they are as soon as possible.
So the test chamber at Q121 isn't somewhere you can just visit any day. We've got to give you an idea of what the space sounds like so that you can compose accordingly. We're going to be creating impulse responses so that you can use a virtual version of the reverb in your DAW. We're also going to be recording some amazing musical samples in there to give you another angle at how the space works and how it sounds. So when you get to visit the test chamber here at Q121, you'll be provided a number of pretty cool high-tech tools. There'll be a stereo, high-end, full-range PA in there for you to use. You could also go down a dual mono route if you wanted. You've got the flexibility, and you'll have different speaker positions that you can choose from. You'll also be able to move the fancy ambisonic microphone anywhere in the test chamber. In the main return circuit, out here if you wanted, you can do whatever you need. You can think of the microphone as a mobile audience. You'll be able to monitor that in real time. Bear in mind, this is very important, this one, there is going to be no post-mixing of your track. What arrives at the microphone is what you get. On stage 3, you'll have multiple takes in your hour's slot, but there's nothing happening to your file until it hits the mastering at the end. Something to keep in mind when you're at the test chamber here at Q121 is that you need to represent yourself as an artist, both musically and what you can do with the space, but also visually how you're presenting yourself. We're making a documentary here, so we'll probably want to interview you. We'll probably want pictures as well. And we may have an issue with things like giant logos on t-shirts, that kind of stuff. So just be mindful. You can also do visuals, live visuals in there, should you so desire. You might want to talk to us about it first, but bear in mind you only have an hour for your rehearsal slot and your final recording slot. So, 2 weeks after you've come in here to have your play around in person for stage 2, we're going to need a couple of things from you. One is going to be your chosen, proposed speaker positions and microphone positions. They'll all be numbered, so that'll be easy. And we'll also want a rough demo of your music to get a kind of vibe. For stage 3, the big recording day, you have an hour to play with. 15 minutes at the start, you'll be setting up and sharing that with the previous person de-rigging. You then have 45 minutes to play through your piece as many times as you can pack in. That'll be your lot to make sure you do the best you can. If you're not one of our 20-something ModCafers, please feel free to use these files for your own creative projects. If you do post anything, tag us on social media, and if you want to use the hashtag #TestChamber, we'll know about it and we can share it far and wide.
We recorded noise bursts of pink noise at a constant level throughout the space, or well, at a constant fixed output throughout the space. We took a lot of recordings at about more than 50 loudspeaker microphone combinations of sine sweeps, exponential sine sweeps. And so we will have impulse responses at over 50 loudspeaker microphone combinations. We'd asked Jeremy from Red Means Recording to help out with the project and provide us with a number of samples that we could use to demonstrate what sounds sound like within the Q121 building. And so we recorded the output of that at a number of locations, as well as his own response to the space. So not just having a kind of a standard drum output, but actually his one tailored to the space. And all of this data will be available to all of us on the website. Where you will be able to go in and explore the different microphone loudspeaker combinations, what they sound like. You'll be able to take the impulse response and convolve that with any musical output or sound output that you want to do. They're a really great set of impulse responses and a great set of stimuli for us to be able to use in moving the project forward. As you enter the building, you come in through the door from outside and go into the aeroplane shed, it is called. This is a kind of large space with various artifacts from the use of the building in it. And you move through there into what's called the test chamber. The test chamber exists, that's where they used to hang the aeroplanes and let the air flow past them. That's basically in front of the fan, so that's where the test chamber is. And then there's a door up some steps through a door into what's called the return circuit, which is what I have previously referred to as a large concrete box. It's a very long space with a rectangular cross-section. It's about 58 meters long, and there is a sloping floor. So from one end, the fan end, the floor slopes down, and it's about 9 meters tall at one end, 12 meters at the other. So the floor is concrete, the walls are concrete, the ceiling is concrete, with the exception of the wall which is farthest from the fan in the return circuit. That is covered in deep sound absorbing material. So high frequencies are absorbed by this foam covering. That's the only sound absorbing material that's in there. So sound generally up the other end from there bounces around quite merrily. High frequencies are reflected from all of the surfaces. From that end, the high frequencies get absorbed by this sound absorbing material.
Yeah. It's like, wow, it just sucks the sound out of you.
I can't stand near it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So
it makes your
wow.
it makes your inner ear go a little bit.
Yeah.
So you can lose balance a little bit.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've never experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
How have I not done this before?
So these material finishes really kind of create the acoustics within the building, or it's that and the room geometry that create the acoustic artifacts within the building. So, for example, the fact that it is 55 meters, 57 meters long means that you can be 55 meters away from the wall at the fan end, and that will give you a delay of somewhere around about 300 milliseconds worth of delay. You also get sound propagating between the parallel walls and the floor, to a lesser extent floor and the ceiling, but because they're not parallel. But you get these reflections happening which add to or create tonalities with the sound. There are turning vanes in each of the corners of the return circuit, which are full height concrete bent structures that help to regulate the airflow around the corners. The sound will pass, as the air does, around the return circuit. But there is this difference that what happens at higher frequencies is that they get passed around very nicely around the fan end, but they get attenuated going around the other end. So, for example, if you stand in the test chamber and listen to a sound that's generated within the return circuit, you will hear brightness coming around through the fan area, but then it's a much duller sound coming around through the opposite end. The building itself, particularly into the aeroplane shed, is not particularly acoustically tight, so you do get sound coming in from outside, and that can be aeroplanes taking off from the nearby airfield, or there was a leaf blower going outside which you can hear. It's a bit quieter when you go through into the return circuit. After all, it's a big concrete construction, so it is working to a great extent to eliminate noise coming in. Sound levels there are about 30 dBA typically, of that order. That's about akin to what you might design a lecture theatre or something like that. So it's a low level of sound and shouldn't be intrusive, particularly if we are playing sound levels in there of 80, 90 decibels, something like that. That will give you a really nice signal to noise ratio and mean that the end recordings are good. Sound levels from aeroplanes are probably about 20 dB. They get up to about 20 dB above the normal ambient level, so 50, maybe 55 dB of sound breaking in. They can happen at any time and probably will. The reverberation time there at mid frequencies is around about 5 seconds. At lower frequencies, it's longer. It can be up to even 13, 14 seconds. So if you're thinking about putting a lot of low frequency sound into the building, then be mindful that after 10, 12 seconds, you're still going to have quite a significant amount of that still there. That kind of leads on to the fact that if you're producing lots of impulsive sounds, they can also hang on for quite a long time. So, for example, kick drums will get kind of muddied by this low frequency reverberance that you have within the space. A lot of the anomalies, or the acoustic anomalies that happen within the space only really become apparent when sounds stop. Then it's that starts to demonstrate some of the kind of the nuances of what's happening in the acoustic environment there. And in kind of looking at some of the impulse responses earlier, noted that there was quite a resonant tail to one of the sound decays. And so just analysed part of that. It transpired that there was a frequency round about 490 hertz that was kind of hanging on within the space. And those sorts of effects do vary as you go through the space. Feel free to kind of explore that more and to utilize those sorts of frequencies within your production, or steer clear of them. The loudspeaker setup that we have for the project is basically a sub and a top cabinet with about a 70-degree dispersion. They were designed by D&B. I am reliably informed by SFL that they are flat as can be. If you want to have more clarity, then if you direct the loudspeakers at the microphone, that gives you that clarity. The further away you get from the loudspeakers with your microphone position, you're picking up more room effects, and so you're getting if you like, a wetter mix of the room effects. From a single loudspeaker position and recording that at a single microphone position, you actually get a lot of spatial information. So you're not kind of having to work in the same way as you would in stereo in your studio. It's kind of creates a different approach to creating your music, thinking about what the recorded output is going to be, which includes that motion within the space, or that sonic motion of what the sound is doing within the space. The key message from this is there's a massive material there that you can use that Stage 1 has created. Have a play with that, have a listen, convolve things with the impulse responses, and start to formulate some ideas as to what you might want to do within the space. You can then take those ideas and test them. And that's the idea of Stage 2, really, is to take your musical ideas. It doesn't have to be a fully worked out piece or anything like that. It can be if you want to, but it doesn't have to be. It can just be ideas, things that you want to test and how it might sound at different locations. If there are particular frequencies that you want to explore, or particular reflections or echoes or delays that you want to explore, then bring along some equipment that you've got that can help you to explore that. But be mindful of the fact that we each only have 1 hour within which to be able to explore in Stage 2. So come along prepared, unless you just want to spend that hour really just kind of feeling the space and just putting some sounds into it. But I think you will get the best out of Stage 2 if you are prepared in a good way, based on the output and the stuff that you've learned from the output from Stage 1.
This is such a special space, and we are excited and privileged to be able to bring a project like this into it. And we're also just thrilled that the Arts Council of England have offered their support and helped us fund this project, enabling us to kind of further the work and the arts in our borough, in this region. And that's the whole point of it. We want to see more people get excited about the possibilities of what can be achieved with not just electronic music, but communities like this. Who knows where this is going to lead to? It's such a unique opportunity. And thank you for being a part of it.